going to call the meeting to order at 3:02. Resolution, please.
Be it resolved that the council of the Township of Greater Madawaska calls to order the September 18, 2025 regular council meeting at 3:02 p.m.
Thank you. Do we have a mover? Councillor Tripp, second by Councillor Popke. All in favor? That is unanimous, carried. Please stand for O Canada. Oh, I didn't realize it got turned off. My apologies. I will start the land acknowledgement again. As we gather in chambers, I'd like to acknowledge on behalf of council and our community that we are meeting in the unceded traditional territory of the Algonquin people. We would like to thank the Algonquin people and express our respect and support for their rich history, and we are extremely grateful for their many and continued displays of friendship. We'd also like to thank all the generations of people who have taken care of this land for thousands of years. Thank you, Miigwech. Move on to 4.1, approval of agenda. Resolution, please.
That the agenda of the council meeting of September 18, 2025 be approved as amended with the addition of item 9.1 E101 reroute Griffith Snowmobile Club and the deletion of item 7.1 delegation Renfrew and Area Health Services Village. Peter Ema, board chair.
Thank you. Do we have a mover? Councillor Thompson, second by Councillor Levesque. All in favor? That is unanimous, so carried. Now on to 5.1, approval of minutes. Resolution, please.
Be it resolved that the following minutes are approved by council, August 21st, 2025, regular council.
Do we have a mover? Councillor Tripp, second by Councillor Popke. This has been circulated. Everybody's reviewed. All in favor? That is so carried. Thank you. 5.2, accept them the minutes. Resolution, please.
Be it resolved that the following minutes are accepted by council, July 8th, 2025, Recreation and Culture Committee.
Thank you. Do we have a mover? Councillor Levesque, second by Councillor Thompson. This has been circulated. Do we have any questions? No. All in favor? That is unanimous, so carried. On to 6 now, declaration of pecuniary interest or the general nature thereof. There is none seen, thank you. 7.1 is no longer in our agenda. Move on to 8.1, Facilities and Environment Department. 8.1, resolution, please.
That council award RFP 05-2025 environmental monitoring and reporting at 5 waste sites to DM Wells Associates Limited in the amount of $190,195.95, including HST.
Thank you. Do we have a mover? Councillor Popke, second by Councillor Thompson. Background, please. I guess this is Leonard.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. So we put an RFP out in August, which we do every 3 years for a contract for an environmental company to look after our environmental monitoring and reporting of 5 waste sites. which includes the testing of all wells and surface water at the sites for contaminations, and is tested spring, summer, fall, and winter. And they also do our annual report, which anyone that wants to see what's actually been done at the waste sites, it's on our website. You can check it out on the recycling garbage site. It gives you all the annual reports for all sites, 5 sites, and all what has been done over the year. So yes, my recommendation is to have DM Williams Associations Limited to have the contract for the next 3 years. Through the criteria, they met within our budget. They also have worked with other municipalities in the area, and they're very informative. I had a little meeting with them just to go over a few things, and I'm looking very forward to working with them for the next 3 years.
Thank you. Any questions, concerns, comments from council? Councillor Popke.
When you say 5 waste sites, are you referring to the one in Griffith that's no longer active?
Yeah, so active, the ones that aren't active, they still have waste that's there that has to be tested. There's still wells there, so we still have to test them for years to come. Same with the one in Madawaska that's been closed for many years. We also have to test the water samples at those ones also. The only 2 that we do for capacity surveys would be Black Donald and St. Patrick.
Thank you. Any other questions from council? Councillor Levesque.
Sorry, thank you, Leonard. Just a question for you. This is a provincial requirement?
Yes, it's through the Ministry of Environment. We have to do through the regulation. It has to be done through an environmental company for these tests. Staff can't do any of this sort of work themselves. It has to be through the environment from the engineer to the environment.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Thank you. Any other questions from council? No, thank you. All in favor? That is unanimous, so carried. Thank you, Leonard. We'll now move on to 9.1. Resolution, please.
The council authorized the Griffith Snowmobile Club to use township lands in order to reroute the E101 trail.
Thank you. Do we have a mover? Councillor Thompson, second by Councillor Tripp. Background, please. This is Steve?
Yeah.
And your mic's on?
Yep.
The only reason I ask is that mine wasn't earlier.
So I had the Snowmobile Club reach out a few weeks back. The Ministry of Transportation is requiring them to remove their trail off all Kings highways. They're looking to turn into, when they come out Finn's Road right now, they share the road with us in the wintertime, and they come to the intersection and they go into the ditch on the MTO highway. So they're looking to come in the transfer station road to the gate and then turn right and go through the trees to the adjacent private property owner that has already given them permission to go across, and that connects them with the Griffith Bridge, and the MTO has agreed to allow them to still cross the Griffith Bridge. So at least this would still connect the new trail they've made from Denby to Griffith to connect it again. They also mentioned that they will install gates so that in the summer months and from April on that they'll be closed so nobody can access the properties as well. I had a discussion with Leonard just because it goes through the waste site, and he doesn't see anything, no issues with it, and I can't see any issues of it too. We share kilometers of road with them now in the winter months and stuff, like we plow half and they snowmobile on the rest, so I don't see any issues with it.
Thank you. Any questions from council? Councillor Thompson.
It's the 101, or is it the 102?
101.
It is the 101, okay.
From Denby to Griffith.
Okay, okay, now that makes sense. Is there any way to ensure that can the landowner keep that route across there in perpetuity? Can they get into any agreement so if they sell the land, it's part of it, or is that something that, I'm just thinking if they, sell or develop that land,
Yeah,
we'd lose that link.
Yeah, I can't see him selling. He's been there his whole life, and he's
Well, Donnie's getting older. But I know that can be done, but I don't know what the process is.
yeah, that'd be up to those guys, I guess, to get their agreement. But there is insurance and coverage and everything that they support with when you sign up.
Okay, I'm just thinking it'd be unfortunate to lose that link if we can't use the highway in the future, so maybe that's something the Snowmobile Club can look into.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions, Councillor Lebec?
Thank you, Steve. Just a question regarding, I guess, liability and insurance. I'm not sure how that works or if we have any other agreements in place for other parts of the township in which this would be included, I guess, in that. How does that work in terms of our liability?
Well, normally the snowmobile club, if they're crossing private property or a chunk of land owned, they have it all covered through their insurance coverage. Roadways, we've never had any insurance coverage like on the county road or if they go along a municipal road, we'd have nothing for that. It's just covered under the roadway. But for something like this, I can talk to the snowmobile club, but it's like a chunk of property. So they're crossing, so it's probably covered under their insurance, but I can check into that.
Yeah, and sorry, just to add to that, I mean, this is just one agreement, I guess that we're proposing, but again, I don't know how we're covered elsewhere if we have anything else in the township, and maybe it's an opportunity to look at it all to see how it's all managed end to end. So whether it be a roadway, a ditch, whatever it may be that affects the township.
Sorry, we're right now with the Calabogie Snowmobile Club, we're in an MOU. So it would be the same type of memorandum of understanding with this club. So we're seeking permission to enter into that MOU to allow them to use the lands. So because they're required under their licensing to have that. So we've just renewed the one with the area here, and they're required to provide that to be licensed to use the trail themselves. So yeah, we already have a structure for this type of use through township property.
And then in terms of insurance and our liability, is that part of that? Okay.
Yes, yeah. There's a requirement. I don't know what the minimum is, but there's a requirement for insurance that goes through there too.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions, comments, concerns? Does anybody need the resolution read again? No? All in favor? That is unanimous, so carried. We'll move on to 10.1, self-contained breathing apparatus. Resolution, please.
That council directs staff to sole source the procurement of self-contained breathing apparatus, SCBAs, from 1200 Degrees Ontario in the amount of $228,722 plus applicable taxes, and that council approve the commitment of these funds within the 2026 capital expenditure budget.
Thank you. Do we have a mover? Councillor Popke, second by Councillor Tripp. Background, please, Chief.
Thank you. The Township's asset management plan identifies the replacement of self-contained breathing apparatuses, or SCBAs, as a priority for 2026 in order to maintain compliance with safety standards and ensure the ongoing protection of our firefighters. The Greater Madawaska Fire Department's existing SCBA units are 29 years old, which far exceeds their recommended service life. As outlined in NFPA 1981 and NFPA 1852, SCBAs must meet strict performance, maintenance, and replacement standards. Our current dragger packs are obsolete with no manufacturer support. They are also missing critical modern safety features such as integrated pass alarms, enhanced face piece visibility, electronic monitoring, and heads-up display. Continued reliance on this outdated equipment poses both operational and liability risks to the township. Replacing the SCBAs now ensures the fire department will maintain safe, functional, and compliant equipment for emergency response. Firefighters depend on SCBAs as their last line of defense in immediately dangerous to life and health environments. As part of the budget preparation process, the department obtained 2 formal quotations based on the number of units and equipment required. The outcome of this process demonstrated the importance of moving forward with this purchase now in order to save the township and its ratepayers significant money while addressing critical safety needs. So we got 2 different quotes, one from AJ Stone, who has a G1 SCBA. It's like the premium one online. It was $436,000 plus tax. It's got lots of features and neat things, but for what we need, there's other options. So we also got a quote from 1200 Degrees, which came in at $273,457 plus tax. It's more straightforward. It's still ergonomic. It moves with our backs as we move around, so it's It's got all the bells and whistles that we need. Following discussions with Drager, the township was able to negotiate customer discounts and refine certain equipment requirements, resulting in a significantly reduced quotation of $228,722 plus tax. This represents a savings of over $200,000 compared to the MSA G1 quote and still ensures all NFPA standards are fully met. In addition to the cost savings, the new SCBAs will transition the department from a 2216 PSI tank, which is the big yellow ones, to a 4,500 PSI cylinder, which is made out of carbon fiber and a lot lighter. This represents an increase in available air volume from approximately 30 minutes of rated service time to 45 minutes. So it'll let us work a lot longer on a fire scene, and a lot lighter, so they're going to get less fatigued. It is also important to note that the new SCBA standard will come into effect in 2026. Industry projections indicate equipment manufactured under this new standard may cost up to 30% more. By approving this purchase now, council avoids significant future cost escalation while securing equipment that will remain fully compliant and serviceable for its entire life.
Thank you. Any questions, comments, concerns from council? Councilor Tripp.
A comment on this. And more for the public that are coming into the meeting. We had the opportunity to go through and tour the fire station, that open house, and it was a real eye-opener in terms of the equipment that we have and the need for moving forward. The weight of our old systems were archaic, and it really stuck with me in terms of the amount of breathing time they had going in and then coming back out. So the difference in weight and the extension to 45 minutes is a game changer for our volunteers, and we need to remember that these are volunteer firefighters going in, so we have an obligation to give them the best that we can afford. And I was very impressed reading this in terms of your detail to go through the Cadillac to what we really needed, and then rather than just stopping there, going back to the displayer to see if we could shave off a few more bells and whistles that you feel comfortable shaving off. So thank you for the work. I think it's a very important step forward for our team.
Perfect, thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions, concerns, comments from council? Councilor Popke.
I think it's great that you got to knock down to that price as well. But looking ahead in the 2026 asset management plan, there is a line in there for the SCBA for a budget of $380,000. So why is it so high if the purchasing price is so low? It's $120,000 difference.
That's how good he can negotiate.
Yeah. So the answer to that is we're getting the PSS 7000. So as of 2026, those are no longer in the standard. So they do have to sell them, right? It is still meeting standards. There is a new standard coming out, and that's where the 30% increase in cost is coming in.
Very good. Any other questions, comments, concerns from council? No, I guess the one question I have, all these cylinders and containers, they need to be filled with air. Does the new, the Drager, does it need new equipment for filling the air? Do we take it someplace that has to, is it going to cost more, or is it pretty much the same?
So as part of the asset management plan for 2026, we're also purchasing a new compressor unit that's going to fill the new tanks. So.
Okay, thank you.
So and just to elaborate on that a bit, so what we have is both we're in the asset management plan and are in projected capital to be presented to council. The issue with this one is that if we don't move on it, we'll be paying the cost of that almost $400,000 as per the asset management plan. So there's a cost savings there where is it a compressor, will still be purchased as we go into 2026.
Thanks. Any other questions? All right, I'll pose the question. All in favor? That is unanimous, so carried. Thank you, Chief. Okay, we now move on to section 11.1. Resolution, please.
That council approve bylaw 49, 2025 to enter into a development agreement with Jack's Dev Holdings in accordance with section 5312 and 5126 of the Planning Act to satisfy conditions of consent approval.
Thank you. Do we have a mover? Councillor Thompson, second by Councillor Levesque. Background, please. Tracy?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. You may recall Jockstep Holdings had 3 severances approved in the last year, and then council approved a zoning bylaw amendment in June, which reduced some setbacks to nearby landfill site and aggregate designations. Those setback reductions were supported by studies and reports prepared by professionals. So what you have today is the development agreement that is also a condition of severance approval for the 3 severances. It will put on title some awareness for purchasers that they, if they buy the lots and build on those lots, they are in proximity to a landfill site, and the township is not responsible for the quality or quantity of groundwater or any other impacts from the nearby landfill site. So this is just the development agreement required as a condition of approval, and required as a condition of severance. And the supporting studies and reports are inventoried at the end of the development agreement. So if a purchaser wants to see what the background context was, the reports are referenced there as well.
Thank you. Any questions, comments, concerns from council? There are none seen. All in favor? That is unanimous, so carried. We'll move on to 11.2, resolution, please.
That council approve bylaw 50, 2025 to enter into a development agreement with Wayne Haygarth and Huchen Zai to permit access over the unopened road allowance located between lot 28 concession 4 and lot 28 concession 5 in the geographic area or geographic township of Baguette to get to abutting lands.
Thank you. Do we have a mover? Councillor Tripp, second by Councillor Levesque. Background, please.
Thank
Ditto?
you. So Mr. Haygarth and his partner purchased this property, I understand, from the township as a tax sale in 2024, and they have subsequently come to the township seeking permission to use an unopened municipal road allowance to get access to that otherwise landlocked parcel. In supporting that request, we asked Mr. Haygarth to do an environmental impact study because our official plan and zoning mapping show the presence of a wetland pocket close to the road allowance. So they did complete an environmental impact study with a qualified professional and also surveyed the road allowance. So we're very clear on the ground exactly where the road allowance is located, and the biologist evaluated the wetland. And so what is before you today is the development agreement required to grant them permission to use the unopened road allowance for access to the property. The development agreement includes the recommendations that come from the environmental impact study in terms of minimizing environmental risk from establishing a small pathway through the township's road allowance, and conditions about providing insurance and not gating, blocking the municipal road allowance, and so on. So the survey's done, the development agreement would allow them access across land, which would continue to be owned by the township.
Thank you. Any questions, comments, concerns, discussion items from council? There are none. Oh, Councillor Levesque.
Thank you. Excuse me. Thank you, Tracy. Just to note, and I think there was information you received as well around concerns raised by the adjacent property owners. Maybe you could cover some of that, please.
Certainly. So one of the adjacent property owners contacted us and I guess saw this on the agenda and expressed some concern with what is being proposed here. There is not a requirement for us to notify abutting property owners to go through this process. As I said, the road allowance has been surveyed, so we and the neighbors know exactly where the road allowance is. The neighbor is concerned about the potential for people to trespass onto his property, potential for impacts on his property value. In my opinion, this is public land, and whether we entered into an agreement with these applicants or not, the public still has the right to walk on the municipal road allowance. I think this is actually a little better because now we all know exactly where the road allowance is located. Property values, I mean, that's not really something that we can comment on in terms of potential for impacts, but the public does have the right to walk on the publicly owned land. And I think the township has done due diligence in evaluating the natural heritage features and surveying, requiring the applicant to survey the location of the road allowance, ensuring that it won't be gated or blocked. I know the neighbor would like that, but typically that's not allowed to block or fence, I guess, across a municipal road allowance. So I appreciate that the neighbor isn't very happy about this, but in my opinion, a township's done our due diligence. The public would have the right to walk on any unopened municipal road allowance, as these applicants are proposing to do.
Thank you. Any other, Councillor Levesque, supplemental?
Just to follow up, Tracy, thank you for that. According to the survey and the unopened road allowance, there are a number of, I guess, existing features like rock barriers or I guess dividers. I'm not sure exactly what they're there for, but how will that be managed? Do they stay there, or do they remove them, or how does it, do you know how that will work?
So the applicants have asked for permission to have a modest trail. I'm scrolling back up to find the exact width of it, but to have a modest trail through the road allowance. There was no indication that they intended to alter or remove what the surveyor has called remnants of stone fences. The road allowance is 20 meters wide, so I think there will be lots of room to avoid those stone fences and still have a modest path through the road allowance. There's been no discussion of removing or altering those stone fences from the applicants.
Do you feel that's something we should preempt or just leave it to work through?
I mean, I guess if the township wanted to ensure that those stayed there, we could write that into the development agreement. I'm not aware of them being historically significant one way or the other. I don't know if they are. I personally don't think that's necessary, but if you want to add that, you could add that to the development agreement, I suppose.
No, that's fine. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions, comments, concerns from council? None. All in favor? That is unanimous, so carried. Thank you. Now on to 11.3, resolution, please.
That council approve bylaw 51, 2025, being a bylaw to amend zoning bylaw number 28, 2024, as amended to lift the holding symbol applied to lands located at part of lots 12, 13, and 14, concession 7, geographic township of Madawaska.
Thank you. Do we have a mover? Councillor Thompson, second by Councillor Levesque. Background, please.
Thank you. This is also a property where there were some severances in the last year and then a zoning amendment approved by council in the spring. The zoning amendment was put in place with a holding provision on it, and the criteria to remove the hold was to get a clearance letter from the Ministry of Culture for the archaeological study that was done to support the severances. And that letter has subsequently been approved, and the Ministry of Culture has signed off on the study. So it is now appropriate to remove the hold so that development could proceed on these lots. So this is a zoning amendment to remove the holding provision as the requirements of the hold have been satisfied.
Thank you. Any questions from council? Seeing none, all in favor? That is unanimous, so carried. Thank you, Tracy. Now move on to 12.1, Finance Administration Department. Resolution, please.
That council approve the appointment of Jane Stevenson to the Recreation and Culture Committee.
Thank you. Do we have a mover? Councillor Popke, second by Councillor Thompson. Background, please. This will be Robin.
Thank you, Mayor Weir. In June, the Recreation and Culture Committee received a resignation from one of the members. Kate Zeal expressed that her time constraints made it no longer feasible for her to participate. So the committee terms and reference states that the committee needs to consist of 6 volunteer members and the member council. So we need to fill the vacant spot. In July, the position was advertised with a closing date of early August, and then we did receive 1 application. The application was reviewed by myself and the CAO to confirm eligibility, which she was, and the committee reviewed it and discussed it, unanimously agreed that Jane Stevenson should be accepted to the committee, and Jane has accepted the offer of the position, and she's scheduled to come to the next meeting. So staff is recommending that council officially appoint her to complete the process.
Thank you. Any questions, comments, concerns from council? There are none seen. All in favor? That is unanimous, so carried. Now on to 12.2, resolution, please.
That council endorse the 2026 budget direction.
Thank you. Do we have a mover? Councillor Tripp, second by Councillor Thompson. Background, please, Jen?
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. So each year, Council and Township staff work together to find the right balance between the cost of providing services and the resources we have available. The annual budget is a key part of this process. It ensures that we can continue delivering the services residents depend on today, while also planning the responsibility for the future. For 2026, our goal is to have the budget adopted by Council in December. The process includes several key milestones: budget direction this month, the library budget presentation in October, a draft budget in November, and budget deliberations before final adoption in December. The township's revenues come from user fees, government funding, and taxation. To give some perspective, a 1% increase in the municipal tax rate based on a current 2025 property assessment would bring in approximately $46,500 a year. While every little bit helps, this amount does not go very far when it's spread across all the township services that they provide, as well as our commitment to increasing contributions to reserves for our asset management. On the expense side, costs are driven by factors that are outside of our control, such as inflation, new legislative requirements, and the need to maintain current service levels for residents. So looking ahead to 2026, there are both opportunities and pressures. On the opportunity side, assessment growth from new properties is expected to bring in approximately $52,000, and the Canada Community Building Fund will remain steady at $94,000. On the pressure side, we are facing increased costs in policing, declined building permit revenues, higher insurance and debt costs, and staff pressures such as cost of living adjustments. Together, these create significant challenges for our operating budget. Last year, the township set aside funds to help offset the increase in the operating budget for police services, so this will help offset the police increase, should there be any. On the capital side, the 2026 program, the 2026 capital forecast includes road work, fire equipment, facility improvements, and a development charge study with total projects estimating $1.56 million. To keep the budget balanced, staff have prioritized health and safety items and deferred some lower priority projects, including Highland Creek Road, which has been moved to 2027. Development charges remain an area of concern with revenues lower than expected during the 2025 fiscal year, creating pressures on reserves. A new background study and bylaw will be completed in 2026 to ensure collections can commence 2027. The asset management plan also identifies a long-term funding gap. To address this, annual contributions to capital reserves, we are increasing with the additional contribution of $138,000 as planned for 2026. And this was presented to you during the 2025 asset management plan. It also represents a 3% annual tax increase alone. Staff are still gathering information for the 2026 budget and are looking for ways to find efficiencies that could help reduce the impact on taxpayers. While much of the work is still in progress, the preliminary target is a 6 to 7% municipal tax rate increase to maintain current operations and sustain legislative requirements. Any new items added by council would increase this figure. Finally, I note that the library will present its budget. It's a little different this year. They'll present this budget in October. This timing will allow council to consider its impacts before deliberations begin. Council members are encouraged to bring any items that they would like considered for the 2026 to this meeting. Any questions?
To this meeting? No.
Sorry, to the October meeting.
Thank you. Any questions from council at this time? No, if nobody else has any questions, I just have one. We, in our assets at 352, you have listed at 20,000 for a Ski-Doo. So are we able to just change that to snowmobile? Because Ski-Doo is actually a brand. And we don't want to limit ourselves, right?
Yes, my apologies. We'll definitely change that. The intent is a snowmobile.
Yeah, that's what I understood, but I just wanted to make it clear so that we're not,
I believe the brand that we have right now is Ski-Doo, so it's the replacement
Oh,
of
okay.
asset number 352, but we will definitely
All right.
update that too.
just
during
didn't
the
want to limit
process.
ourselves to only budget or
No
bidding on
problem.
one. Okay, thank you. Yeah, Councillor Tripp?
Thank you. This was very sobering, thank you. It's a realistic picture of, I think, the challenge we have between now and December. I was very encouraged to see your comments around the asset management plan and our steadfast approach. When the pressures are on, it's very easy to pull back from that, and I was very encouraged to see the commitment, because that's going to be important for future generations around this table, and it's too easy to make decisions short-term and take the eye off long-term. So I was really pleased to see that. I also recognize our 6 to 7% tax rate is high because that's our tax rate. We then have to look at county and education. So we've got some challenges ahead of us, but this was a really good, realistic approach of what we're facing. I just wanted to say my appreciation for staying true to our commitment to keep the reserve fund healthy for future generations. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions, comments, concerns from council? There are none. Call the question. All in favor? That is unanimous, so carried. Thank you. Now, we will move on to 12.3, Performance Review Template and Guide.
That council endorse the updated employee and manager performance review template and guide.
Okay, do we have a mover? Councillor Lebec, second by Councillor Popke. Background, please.
So what you have here is an updated performance review sheet. So currently we use a similar sheet you would have seen, I think, last year during my review. This one has been updated, I mean, logo side, just cosmetic pieces, but also in the way it's approached. So we've had it in the past where it would have been more questionable on what to put in the goals and responsibilities and how we evaluate these positions. So there's a bit of a guide there to help with staff and managers evaluation and seeing where people, like where a fair evaluation can be. Additionally, the new form has the core competencies are now aligned with their strategic plan. So it's just intended to align staff goals with the core values of the strategic plan. And the old form only had one leadership skill, which I think was just leadership. This is adding some strategic thinking and problem, and leadership and people. Otherwise, the form is pretty similar than before, with the exception of having a guide to assist employees and managers in completing the review.
Thank you. Any questions, comments, concerns from council? There are none seen. All in favor? That is unanimous, so carried. Move on to 12.4, CAO Performance Review Template.
That council adopt the CAO performance evaluation template as presented.
Do we have a mover? Councillor Tripp, second by Councillor Levesque. Background, please.
So during the CAO evaluation last year, I was asked to look at options for a different evaluation template for the following year. This template falls completely in the hands of council, so you can adjust where you would like. I've done some reviews on the Canadian Association of Municipal Administration, as well as just some operational pieces of how we do things here and what I heard from council last year. So we have how it's broken down. It used to be the old template, so the template's not fitting for the role. So this has more of a upfront CAO self-assessment. This would include all the strategic goals and the update where we're at, and it would go into achievements and everything. So just really talk about, it's like a report to council on the achievements. And then the council then would take that and complete an evaluation. You could do your individual evaluation on the form and compile that. And then there's the option also, we talked about a 360 feedback review where every year, every few years, council can ask, is it consultants, is it county, neighbors, is it within the office, but somebody or some staff or people to assess the CAO on certain aspects to help with the development. So I've provided a bit of a form here with how these sections would be completed. It's meant for, to be a bit clear, one for council, future councils, but also future CAOs, right? Just knowing what the expectation is during performance review. Other than that, the rating too sits right within the matrix that's currently there for the staff one. Other than that, this one is open for council comments and review. If you want any changes, I could work through it and bring it back. You could have a council champion work through it. And then the actual evaluation of CAO would be in closed session.
Thank you. Any questions, comments, concerns from council? There are none seen. All in favor? That is unanimous, so carried. 12.5, improve health service. Advocating for health service hub. Resolution, please.
That council direct the CAO to advance discussions with healthcare partners about using township-owned land in Calabogie for a health services hub to expand healthcare services in the township.
Do we have a mover? Councillor Popke, second by Councillor Tripp. Background, please.
So this report has it's a two kind of sides. One side is just celebrating the fact that we're moving towards with this project. This was in a strategic plan for 2023 to 2026. We've secured 6.47 acres of land earlier this year, which is in a great area. So you could see here, I kind of backgrounded a bit for public consumption on the township land we've acquired, and then the vision that could potentially come through, even through the, we just are underway was a public consultation for Calabogie secondary plan. And this section was actually flagged as lands. Some residents have flagged them as lands on the map to be to use to expand health services. So it's interesting that it aligns well together. We haven't really talked about the conference since August, except for we attended it. But at AMO, we had another delegation, which included Councillor Tripp and Mayor Weir and Councillor Popke as acting mayor, to discuss the project and the initiative moving forwards. At Roma, we discussed that we would like to acquire land and expand health services. And at AMO, we were able to say we acquired land and we're really invested in this. And we talked about setting a future meeting to discuss the potential we may have here and how the ministry can assist for the Ministry of Health. Since then, I've been looking at different projects. I've been meeting with Councillor Tripp and connecting with other health care providers to kind of feel out health services and how can we move forward with this project. So at this point, there's more about giving council an update, but also talking about seeking council's approval to continue to proceed to have these conversations to continue the momentum and ensure continuity and consistent messaging. We are having conversations to discuss what could this look like. There's Carleton Place as a development. There's developments across, the province, the country, on collaborations for healthcare services. You're seeing more municipalities play a bigger role in that. So I would continue to move forward with that piece. I'm working towards drafting a health services hub business plan, which talks about what is our approach, what can we do under governance, what can we do under the Municipal Act, what we can't do as a council or a township, and to be presented. So over the next few months, I'd be doing that. And I would be presenting maybe into the new year a bit of a business plan on how we would like to, or recommending on how we could approach this significant project.
Thank you. Any questions, comments, concerns from council? Councillor Thompson.
As Councillor Tripp has been the main, the main person on council, you're the main point person. Do you think we should put in this that on council, Councillor Tripp, with all his medical info and background contacts, He's the primary contact from council? Is that
I-
what you talked to?
The reason that I like it worded the way it is there's an election coming up in a year. We may not, this council may not even look relevantly the same, but the CAO will still be the point of contact, is one of my thoughts on that. And we are, Renee is being the point of contact, can then bring it back her information to all of us, because we're all vested in this, and we're all one council. But the reason I'm thinking that it should be worded this way is there's no confusion because this is not going to be something that's done by the end of our term. This is going to continue on for the next 2 years, or whenever we get shovels in the ground and get to finish. But I like that the fact that it's worded that the CAO is the point of contact. And we're all here to support Renee for whatever question she needs, and she can bounce stuff off us. But my thought behind it is that's why I would like it clearly stated CAO as point of contact when I read this. To me, I went, okay, that's good, because it's not going to be done within our term. So that's my thought process on it. Councillor Tripp?
Thank you. Thank you. So I do agree. I like the wording. I like the fact that we're driving this home. It's now becoming more than a project, but a program in terms of policy language. And that this is not something that will be brought to completion at the end of our term. This is something for future terms to work with. And I agree that we won't know who's around the table. So this does need to be entrenched with our CAO. And our CAO reports to the whole council. So through the mayor, she reports to this table, and we all are an equal body in terms of receiving that report. So that defines it, and I appreciate what you've said, but I haven't been leading this. I've been facilitating it and providing strategic advice when it's required, but it's really our CAO who's driving the project. I have been helpful in navigating some of the waters and the complexities in a system that I know very well. I'm happy to continue that. But I do think the language needs to stay firm that the CAO reports to council. We could modify it to say, and that Councillor Tripp provides strategic advice at the request or at the need of the CAO. But my role up until now hasn't been to shape or design, but to give our CAO the tools to build it. The CAO still reports to council through the mayor. So it could be a hybrid. We could work at language. But I do think it's important to have that policy piece in that gives Renee access. Otherwise, she has to come back to council all the time. So just a suggestion, open for thought.
Yeah, Councillor Thompson.
No, I was just thinking that naming you would keep getting other people, other councillors. I mean, we all have the right to have an idea and talk to you, but I think it's better that on this file, unless there's something major, like I could talk to you and then, but I don't know how what do you think?
Well, I think one of the other things too that we need to look at too is if we name Councillor Tripp in this as the strategic advisor or what have you, we also have to look at what the public perception is, Rob. And I'm going to, you're in a position with a board, and there might be a perceived conflict of interest. I don't think that there would be, but we also have to just see, I don't know whether there is a perceived conflict or not, but as I say, the reason I wouldn't want to name anybody as well is we're not all going to be here. Now, Councillor Tripp might be, but we don't know who's going to get elected and who's running again and who's not. But I think that we need to just have it as our CAO is leading.
I think Renee had something to say.
If I could just jump in on that, what is topical about the board, and I want to be very, very clear, both to this table as well as to the public, there is no conflict of interest. There is no engagement or partnership proposed or even strategically thought of between the hospital and this organization. And coming through the journey we have had at the hospital, I have been strategic and very definitive on roles and responsibilities, and there is no crossover, there is no conflict of interest. The decisions and the planning and my role in providing with Renee with advice or direction has been just that, and saying, here are some ways to navigate through the halls. But those two do not intersect. And if they did, I would step away from this file for sake of not causing an issue with the file or with the hospital. But up until now, there has been absolutely no conflict of interest. And I've had these discussions with the hospital as well, because they're aware of that double role. But I just want to make that crystal clear for everybody. Thank you.
Thank you. To our CAO, Renee.
I just want to add a bit of perspective to how we've been functioning since we started this project. It functions just like any other project we have under my umbrella, where I reach out to councillors for expertise. We'll have discussions. So I don't think it falls within that strategic authority of just the CAO reports to the mayor to council. It does have this openness of, councillors have knowledge. Everybody brings something different to the table. So this would be treated the same. So it wasn't intentional to not include a council member as a lead. We just don't have that structure right now where projects have a council member as lead. So without that structure, this is another project where we wouldn't do that. Not saying it wouldn't happen in the future. I mean, as we build those relationships with these partnerships with these health service providers, we may want to create some sort of committee or some sort of structure that actually includes these components and maybe a council member to talk about the next steps. So at this point, it's a bit early. I'm doing a lot of feeling out. We're still trying to figure out our role within it and how we can leverage township lands and resources we have to support the expansion for health service. And I think that's the focus right now.
Thank you. Councillor Levesque.
Just want to confirm my position on this. I think listening to Mayor Weir and Renee on this point, I agree with the current view and the current wording, and I think it is premature. I think it's going to provide us, first of all, Renee's going to come back with a report and a view with an opportunity for us to discuss what that format would look like, recognizing that there could be others involved, including a potential committee scenario made up of various members of the public, for instance, and other experts not just in the field, but local and geographically related environments. So as discussed here, the Carlton Place was mentioned. That was not viewed as something that was considered before, or maybe it was known, but it certainly wasn't highlighted. And I think it's an opportunity for us to reach out with a wider scope beyond quote unquote Renfrew County, even though that's where we reside. So the wider scope is one piece. I do agree, and I hear what you're saying, Councillor Tripp, about the conflict of interest, but perceptions are sometimes perceptions, and sometimes they do become reality in people's minds. So I think that's something we have to be really careful with. And also, I guess a question for you, Renee, is when do you think you would come back with some sort of view or proposal of what this might look like?
When I was just kind of working through it, the thought was, because I do have a lot of material at this point, was going into January. But it may be into the end of the year. We were supposed to have a meeting in November with the ministry. I'm continuing to schedule meetings going into the next few weeks. So, I think at the latest January.
Okay. And I guess my last point, which hasn't been brought up, besides adding a name, is ensuring, as it states here, that the mayor is the quote unquote the political appointee, if you will, because this is a political file. Whether anybody thinks or recognizes that, it's different than plowing roads, for instance. So the health aspect of what we do is somewhat politically charged. So I think it's important that we have the head of council represent that on our behalf, and recognizing also that the head of council and the CIO will come back to us with opportunities for input for things as things move along. So that's just my 2 cents, but thank you for that.
Thank you. Follow up, Councillor Tripp.
Thank you, Councillor Levesque. And I do agree. It is a politically charged file, and the mayor is the head of council, and as we had in what Renee brought forward was to report back through the mayor to council, but the mayor is the point of contact. I've heard twice now about conflict of interest, and you are right, there is a public perception. So with that, I think I should recluse myself from the file going forward, because we don't want to have this impeded by any possible perception of a conflict of interest with cross borders. And this is something that we've had the first time to talk about as council. So I think in terms of the health going forward, I'm happy to help from the sidelines, but in a more informal way and perhaps not quite as active as I've been up until now. So with that, I would support what we have in the paper going forward.
Thank you. Any other questions, comments, concerns? There are none seen. Do we need the resolution read again? I don't think so. Do we? No? Okay, all in favor? That is unanimous, so carried. Thank you. We'll move to committees, and just before we get to committees, I forgot to mention something at the beginning of this meeting, and this just reminded me, and I want to thank Councillor Popke for taking over for me and acting as being the acting mayor while I was going through some of my medical issues. And I also want to thank Councillor Tripp for being our representative at County Council. And sorry, I apologize. When I saw this here, Rob, it reminded me that I forgot to thank you both. And thank you very much for your support and phone calls too as well. So thank you. And I will now go to 13.1, information item, County Council update, Councillor Tripp.
Thank you. So this is my second update. And we had 3 meetings in the last part as we were waiting for Rob to come back in. And again, clear that my opportunity to sit at the table, I most appreciated it, and I learned a lot from it. It was an interesting opportunity, and I'd preface everything I'm about to say now that it is an open forum meeting, and the public can attend, we can attend as sitting councillors. So if you have a day, it's worth going to sit just to watch the level of professionalism and the commitment of the organization as they move through a very aggressive and ambitious agenda during the day. So there were 3 meetings in August, the 13th, the 27th, and then a full day retreat on September 4th. September 4th was quite interesting. It was an in-camera, so I can't get into the detail and specific of the discussion, but it was an opportunity for an education training session. It wasn't just the councillors of county with the senior management team. They brought people in from within the structure of the organization, and it was a fulsome discussion, almost a mini SWOT exercise on what are the opportunities and threats that are presented as they start to look forward to the next budget cycle, and where is county going, and what are they doing well, where can we pick up on areas where we're a little bit behind. It was a really progressive, positive outcome from the meeting. I had the opportunity to brief the mayor when he got back home, so we went through all of the notes and gave as much information as I could to him as he picks up the work again and takes us going forward into it. But again, a very interesting experience. Things I can share is the commitment of the staff at that organization is unprecedented in terms of the work they do and the size of the organization. But they move through a lot of stuff. That was the September 4th meeting. In August, I'll combine the two. There was a presentation of an analysis around the housing opportunities for the county, and a lot of discussion about funding and opportunities to increase housing across the spectrum. The Taste of the Valley, which is coming to, it's topical. It will be here in our community in Calabogie this Saturday. Taste of the Valley is a very strong initiative of county. They're quite proud of it, and they put a lot of work into it. And we are this is our second time having it. Then we got into community service reports. The Ministry of Education and Childcare, they're talking about increased spaces for children and services across the county. Most of that is at the upper level. There's some into Arm Prior, but it's not things that really hit us in our greater Madawaska area. Health Committee reported on the Sierra team, which is a disaster and crime. And we spoke a little bit about that at our last briefing of the work they did at Eagle's Nest, where they're bringing people out It's a very progressive, strong program, and I think one that we're going to see expand across the area. There was discussion within the paramedic service of looking for alternative sites to expand their work and come down into our community. And that again is something that Renee may be following up with in terms of the medical hub and how do we tie into having a greater presence of paramedic services. Operations committee is where they spend the most of their money. And again, just talking about equipment purchases, not much that came into our geographic area. There is some rehabilitation going on in County Roads 71 and 65 up in Madawaska and Centennial Lake area. And not directly in our area, but Storyland Road rehabilitation. With that, I hand it back over to Rob and welcome him to, he's taken back onto the seat and has picked up where I've left off. So thanks for having your trust in me to carry our flag at that table. The last thing I forgot is at the 27th meeting, Mayor Jennifer Murphy from Bonnechere Valley has put her name forward to run as a ward in the next election.
Thank you, Councillor Tripp. And that piece of gum you left under the desk up there, can I have that? Or?
Absolutely.
Okay, thanks. Any?
I thought it was yours when I first picked it up.
Yeah. Any questions of Councillor Tripp from council? There are none seen. We will now move on to 13.2, the Library Board. Councillor Thompson.
Yeah, not much to report. The library is on track to have their budget ready. We've already approved it at a high level, and I know they're working with you on that, so that's appreciated. And they're also going through, one of the board members is going through a thick policy book that it's been years in trying to get it to this point. It was an old template that was used for a larger library, and it really needs being brought up to date. So anyhow, work's going on with that. The library is now met for our required minimum 7 meetings per year, but usually most of the work goes around finance for the board and setting up all the summer programs. So we didn't meet in the summer, but the library was very, very busy in that time. And that's my report. Thanks.
Thank you. Any questions, comments, concerns, discussion from council? There are none seen. Thank you. We will now move on to 13.3, Recreation and Culture Committee. Councillor Levesque.
Thank you, Mayor Weir. Just to keep it brief, again, as we did in this meeting, we welcome a new member, Jane Stevenson. So welcome to Jane. We're looking forward to working with her. We have our last Music in the Park coming this Sunday on September 21st. That'll be at Barnett Park with the band Vanessa Powell Trio. So that'll be great. I think the last one was well received, and hopefully we're going to get some good weather and good times there. And also the last, we're looking forward to the fall and winter programming and communication to include our incentive programs with the town of Renfrew, so for Greater Madawaska residents. So hopefully we'll be seeing some more coming from that and working with other members of the staff. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions, comments, concerns from council? Councillor Tripp.
Thank you. I just had one question about the music in the park. I'm hearing it's going very well. How do you make the selection for the musicians? Do you do a call for interested musicians, or is it going out and seeking them?
A little of both, actually. So there's no public call, if you will, Councillor Tripp, but so I think going through this first year is a little bit of a test of the water, so to speak. So I think we'll look at how we're going to be putting things together. Most of this has fallen on Tracy Fredericks, who is one of our members, who is very well connected with various acts in the area. In this case, one of our other members is playing in that band. So actually, that's probably how it happened, but I don't know exactly how it was taken. They were actually one of the previous bands that was selected for one of the other Music in the Parks, but they had actually received an award to play elsewhere. I think it was Pembroke at another event as a result of winning a local competition. So unfortunately, they weren't able to play then. So I think that's probably how that happened, that they're going to be here now. But we will be looking through, there's many people in this area, certainly throughout Renfrew County and beyond. They're definitely qualified to do what we're doing. So we're looking at all of that and how we're going to present that in the next year.
Thank you. I think that's perhaps one of the results of a successful event, when other musicians now are coming forward saying, how do I get on the list, or how do I get invited, or how do I participate? So glad to hear that you'll be doing more of a public outreach. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any other questions, comments, concerns? No, thank you, Councillor Levesque. We will now move on to 13.4, South Ottawa Valley OPP Detachment Board. Councillor Tripp.
Thank you. So I don't have an awful lot to report on past my report of last council. We're still reviewing the budget plan for 2026, and we'll be coming back to the councils. We have a delay in getting our paymasters set up with the Township of Renfrew. Their council meeting had been delayed, and that was the moment that they were supposed to vote on the agreement that we've entered into. So it's probably 2 weeks out, which will help us get our house in order. The most exciting news is that we have had a staffing for the position of detachment commander. Marianne McNeil is now the official full-time detachment commander. So since inception of the board, we have been rotating through acting. We're very pleased to have her. It was an interesting process. The board has an active role in the selection process. And during this process, we had the Superintendent Derek Needham, who is the superintendent for the Eastern region of OPP, come into Renfrew, along with Chief Superintendent Lisa Wilhelm, who is the chief of the entire OPP Eastern Ontario area. And they brought Marianne to the board. We had an opportunity to spend an hour with interview questions and going back and forth. We're very pleased to have her. She has great vision, and I think she's going to be very helpful. She's already built a very strong relationship with most of the municipalities within the catchment areas. We're quite pleased with that, and you'll see more as we come forward in the coming months. So that's my report. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions, comments? Councillor Thompson.
I'm just curious, this is a new initiative. How far are we along in getting it started and just becoming routine?
We're close. By the end of this year, we'll have the policy measures in place, and we'll have the finances in place. We're part of a zone, which is like a provincial chapter. There's a meeting tomorrow in Hawkesbury where we'll be talking about all of the regs that we have to support and follow. So the administrative side is coming in. We should have the finance and the budget side ready to come in for discussions in line with the budgeting process we have here, with a budget that's much more, I think, aligned with the realities of our mandate. The first year was very unclear for a lot of us. And as we talk to our other detachment boards throughout the province, we're in that medium, if not maybe just above the medium in terms of where we are organizationally. It's been an interesting transitional implementation year, is I think the best way to phrase it, but we see the light at the end of the tunnel. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions? Any others? Nope. All right, thank you. We will now move on to 14, other business. 14.1, Veteran Memorial Banners. Resolution, please.
That council support the installation of veteran memorial banners in Griffith and Madawaska as proposed by Charlotte and Chloe Defo in partnership with community organizations, and authorize the use of municipally maintained poles and roadways for this purpose.
Thank you. Do we have a mover? Councillor Thompson, second by Councillor Popke. Background, please. Councillor Thompson.
On August 20th, the township received a letter from Charlotte Defoe, who is a resident of Vanacker in the township of Addington Highlands. They're working, she and her daughter, Chloe, are working to get memorial banners, and there's an organized put throughout the Griffith and Madawaska area. And there is an organization they're working with that does this, and they're also doing it in Addington Highlands. And since Griffith, Vanacker, Denby, and Madawaska, are really one community. It makes sense to do it in both places. And there were a lot of people. There was a recruiting for the First World War. Recruiters came and took a lot of the boys off the farm who were all excited before the First World War to join and go see the world. And they were promised they'd be back by Christmas. It didn't turn out that way. And there were an amazing number of people who were in that war, the next war, the Korean War, et cetera, and just served in the military. So yeah, we would like to do what we can to make this all happen. And the Lions Club is the Griffith and Madawaska Lions Club, or Denby Griffith Madawaska,
Denby Griffith.
Denby Griffith Lions Club is already on board, and I think they've sponsored 10 of them already, so it should be less expensive for people to do individual things.
Thank you. Any questions, comments, concerns from council? Councillor Popke, and then Councillor Levesque, I saw your hand go up after.
They do a very similar thing in Perth. When you're driving down the streets, you see the memorial thing, and I think it's a great way to commemorate the fallen or the people that have served, so it's a good endeavor.
Thank you. Councillor Levesque? Councillor Levesque?
Yeah, thank you. Sorry, just trying to get that button. Thank you, Lois. This is a great initiative, and I really do support it. Many communities, including the one I'm originally from, do it, as Taylor mentioned, Perth and others. So I think it's great that we do that. Is this a request for financial, or is it just general support from the township?
General support, but also the use of our poles that they can put them up.
Okay.
Is there any other
Sorry.
support needed?
Well, that was my question, is if that was, was it a financial need or just general support? But I guess in addition to that, I guess as we're trying to bring all areas of the township together, do we have an opportunity to work with our local Lions Club to kind of expand it across the entire township? And it's more of a question, and maybe Rob, with your experience on the Lions Club, I don't know if this is something we could or should bring forward to them as well to kind of glue it all together.
Yeah, this is driven by an individual, but there's anybody can take on the extra area. So yeah, that would be wonderful to expand it, perhaps through the Lions Club. I don't know.
Yeah, I think I'll bring it to the attention of the Lions Club, and they can contact the Griffith Denby Lions Club to see how they're working it out between them. My concern on this, not necessarily a concern, is we don't have any of the poles on Highway 41. They're all MTO. So we're thinking of, obviously, Denby Griffith area, we're going to be on. There's going to be so many people, we're not going to have enough poles is what I'm concerned with. There's so many people that should be honored. It's how do they pick it? I mean, it's not up to us or anything because we're not really involved, but my concern is there's a lot of people that from this area that were gone off to war and never came back or did come back, but we only have so many side streets in Griffith Denby, and how do they pick? Or is it my relative, I want my relative's picture up there and that's why I paid to have it done? Or I'm just trying to get some clarity. You may not know or anything, but I'm just throwing it out there.
I don't know how many polls we have.
No,
but
I think Leonard might, but I'll leave it alone.
Yeah,
or Steve.
Off the top of your head, yeah, it's at this point. Let's just get it started, and then we'll deal with that later. If it is that popular, and we need more polls, we can work something.
We'll take a poll.
We'll take a poll. Thank you.
All right. Anybody need the resolution reread? No, I'll call with the question. All in favor? That is unanimous, so carried. Thank you. We will now move on to 15.1, enter into closed session.
That the council meeting of September 18th, 2025, entering to closed session at 4:16 p.m. pursuant to section 2932 of the Municipal Act regarding, 1, personal matters about an identifiable individual, including municipal or local board employees, specifically A, failed tax sale properties, B, pay equity review, C, planning department update, D, Renfrew and Area Health Services Village Agreement, and E, Ontario Land Tribunal Decision, River Lane Estate Subdivision.
Thank you. Do we have a mover? Councillor Tripp, second by Councillor Levesque. And all in favor to move into closed? That is unanimous, so carried. We are now entering into closed. Thank you and welcome back. We now move into 16.1, move to open. Resolution, please.
That the council meeting of September 18, 2025 move back into open session at 5:47 PM.
Do we have a mover? Councillor Thompson, second by Councillor Tripp. All in favor to move into open? That is unanimous, so carried. '17, rise and report. 17.1, resolution, please.
That council reports the following as a result of the closed meeting item. 1, personal matters about an identifiable individual, including municipal or local board employees, specifically A, failed tax sale properties. That council proceed as directed and closed to direct staff pursuant to the Municipal Act 2001 to vest roll number 4706-006-010-68050 described as Blyfield Concession 2, Part Lot 19, and RP 49R13412, Parts 2 and 3, not invest roll number 4706-006-010-40700, described as Baguette Concession 10, East Part Lot 18, and authorize the write-off of $44,415 from the outstanding tax arrears. Roll number 4706-009-035-07600, described as Brown Range DN Part Lot 23, and that council authorize staff to proceed with the additional steps as recommended in closed. B, pay equity review, that council proceed as directed and closed to approve the proposed salary grid reflecting the outcomes of the township's pay equity review and job evaluation process to be effective January 1st, 2026. C, planning department update, receive as information. D, Renfrew and Area Health Services Village Agreement, that council directs staff to draft a letter to the Renfrew and Area Health Services Village based on council's input for council consideration. E, Ontario Land Tribunal decision, River Lane Estate subdivision, received as information.
Thank you. We have a mover, don't we? Yes, we had a mover. We didn't? I thought. We haven't had a mover for rise and report. My apologies, just for open. Do we have a mover? Councillor Thompson, Councillor Popke, thank you. All in favor? That is unanimous, so carried. Thank you, Robin, for keeping me online. We'll now move on to 18.1, bylaw approval. Resolution, please.
Be it resolved that the following bylaw 52, 2025 confirmatory be deemed read a first, second, and final time and passed by council at the regular council meeting held September 18, 2025.
Thank you. Do we have a mover? Councillor Levesque, second by Councillor Popke. All in favor? That is unanimous, so carried. We'll now move on to section 19.1, motion to adjourn. Resolution, please.
That the regular council meeting of September 18, 2025 be adjourned at 5:50 PM.
Do we have a Councillor Thompson? That's in favor, and Councillor Levesque. All in favor to adjourn. Thank you very much, everyone. Have a safe day.